Have you ever noticed that almost every app that promises passive income seems amazing at first, but after a while it simply doesn't change anything in your life for real? You download it, create an account, start off excited, do everything right, and even then the money that comes in is so small it doesn't even come close to replacing your salary. And then that strange feeling starts. It's not exactly failure, but it's not success either. It's like you're doing everything right and still staying in the same place. And let me ask you something very directly. Have you ever thought that maybe the problem isn't you? Because the truth is, there's a very specific reason, one that almost nobody talks about, that makes most of these passive income apps never able to replace a traditional job. And worse, the more you believe they're going to save you, the more trapped you can end up becoming. But that only becomes clear when you understand what's really happening behind these promises. Because if you leave now, you'll keep trying without understanding why it doesn't work. But if you stay until the end, you'll start seeing the game in a completely different way, and when that happens, everything changes. Imagine a very common scene. You wake up early, grab your phone, and check the balance in some app you started using. It could be a cashback app, automated investing, tasks, affiliate marketing, it doesn't matter. You look at the amount and think, okay, at least something came in, but deep down, you know that doesn't solve anything. It doesn't pay your bills, it doesn't remove your stress, it doesn't give you freedom. And even so, you keep going. Because there's a quiet hope inside you saying that if you stick with it just a little longer, maybe it will grow. Maybe it will turn into something bigger. Maybe over time, it will replace your job. And this is where the first mistake begins, one that almost everyone makes without realizing it. We start treating small amounts of money as if they were the beginning of something big, when in reality, they're just small amounts. And this isn't a lack of effort. It's not a lack of discipline. It's not because you didn't try hard enough. It's because these apps were designed to work in a completely different way than you imagine. They weren't created to give you financial independence. They were created to work at scale. And that changes everything. Because while you're there earning a few cents or a few dollars, the platform is making money from millions of people doing the same thing. You're looking at your individual result while they're looking at collective volume. And then something dangerous happens. You start comparing your effort to the result you expected. And that equation never balances. And when it doesn't, frustration comes back. Not explosive frustration. It's a quiet frustration, the kind you don't even talk about. The kind that makes you keep trying, but with less energy, less expectation, more exhaustion, and that weighs on you. Because it's not just about money. It's about the feeling of trying to improve your life and not being able to move forward. It's about opening the app, expecting progress, and seeing practically the same number. It's about thinking, am I the problem? And that question hurts because it comes loaded with doubt, insecurity, and even shame. You start seeing other people saying they're making money online, and it feels like you're the only one who can't. But nobody shows you what's really behind it. Nobody explains why these apps will rarely replace a real salary. And it's not because it's impossible to make money. It's because there's a huge difference between making money and generating enough income to sustain a lifetime. And that difference is what separates expectation from reality. Now think about this calmly. A traditional job, no matter how tiring, has one very clear characteristic: predictability. You more or less know how much you'll earn at the end of the month. You know, when the money comes in. Even with difficulty, you can organize yourself. Now compare that with most passive income apps. The earnings are variable, small, irregular, and often depend on factors you don't control, like rule changes, reduced rewards, withdrawal limits, or even unexpected account blocks. You have no control. And without control, there is no security. And without security, there is no income replacement. But what traps people the most isn't the money, it's the feeling that it's almost working. That's the trap. Because when something is very far from working, you quit. But when it feels close, you keep going even without real results. And that starts consuming your time, your energy, and especially your hope. You begin investing hours of your day into something that has no real potential to sustain you. And the worst part is that you stop investing that time into things that could actually change your situation. But this isn't obvious because at the beginning, everything seems promising, simple, accessible, and that attracts especially those who are tired, overwhelmed, and looking for a way out. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem isn't wanting to improve your life. The problem is believing in paths that weren't built to take you there. And that's what we need to break. Because until you understand this, you keep spinning in circles. thinking you're moving forward while staying in the same place. Now tell me, have you ever felt like you're always busy trying to make money, but at the end of the month, you still feel the same pressure, like you're always running but never arriving? That's not a coincidence. That's a direct consequence of a model that wasn't designed to give you real growth. And understanding this isn't discouraging, it's liberating, because when you stop betting on what doesn't work, you make space to start doing what actually does. But before building the right thing, you need to stop insisting on the wrong one. Because these apps sell the idea of passive income, but in practice, most of them aren't truly passive. You have to log in every day, click, complete tasks, track things, refer people, and if you stop, the money stops too. That's not passive income, that's active income in disguise. And it creates a dangerous illusion that you're building something automatic, when in reality, you're just trading time for small rewards. And that will never scale enough to replace a salary, because there's a limit, and that limit comes quickly. And when it does, you realize there's no way to grow beyond that. But by then, you've already invested too much time to just walk away. So you keep going, even knowing deep down it won't take you where you wanted. And that hurts more than losing money, because it has you losing chimi. And time doesn't come back. Now hold on to this. What separates those who stay stuck in this cycle from those who start breaking free is understanding that the problem isn't wanting passive income. It's trying to build passive income on structures that don't allow real growth. It's like planting in soil that can't support roots. You can water it every day, but it will never truly grow. And that has nothing to do with effortit, it has to do with structure. And when you understand that, you stop blaming yourself and start questioning things. And when you start questioning, you begin to see. And when you see, you begin to get out. Because there's a huge difference between making money and building income. Making money is episodic day. It comes in tomorrow, it might not. Building income is continuous, it grows. It strengthens over time. And most apps keep you stuck in the first one while you actually need the second. And that's why they don't replace a job. Because a job still gives you a predictable base even if it's not ideal. And stability is what sustains a life. Without it, any attempt at replacement becomes a risk. And when you're already struggling, risk turns into fear, and fear paralyzes you. And this goes far beyond money. It becomes a mental state, a way of living, and getting out of it requires changing the way you see income. Because as long as you keep chasing small gains, you stay stuck in the same cycle. Now, there's one mistake that makes everything worse. Trying to use multiple apps at the same time, thinking that combining them will work. But what actually happens is you spread yourself too thin, lose focus, spend energy on multiple small things, and in the end, you still have small earnings. Nothing really grows. It's like trying to fill a container with several leaking cups you pour water in, but it never accumulates. And that creates an extreme level of exhaustion, because you're always doing something but never seeing proportional results. And that exhaustion makes you more anxious, more impatient, more desperate for quick solutions, and that pushes you even further into the wrong paths. And this cycle needs to be broken with a simple decision. Stop dividing your energy and start focusing it on something that can actually grow. Because income that replaces a job doesn't come from earning, it comes from building. And building starts slow. It starts without results. It starts without validation. And that's exactly why almost nobody continues. Because at the beginning, it feels like nothing is happening. You were used to at least seeing something coming in. Now it feels like you're doing more and earning less. And that creates insecurity. But this phase is what separates those who change from those who go back. Because those who go back will seek comfort in what they already know, even if it doesn't work. And those who continue start building something real. And what builds real income always has three things. The possibility of growth without such a low ceiling, some level of control so you're not completely dependent on others. And accumulation, meaning what you do today continues generating results tomorrow. If it doesn't have that, you're not building, you're just starting over every day. And starting over is exhausting and it doesn't move you forward. So the turning point begins when you stop chasing quick money and start seeking direction. Because the right direction saves years. And in practice, that means choosing something that solves a real problem. Because money comes from solving problems. The clearer the problem you solve, the easier it is to generate income. And in the beginning, it doesn't need to be big, it needs to work. It needs to create an exchange of value. And from there, you improve, grow, and scale. But jumping straight to scale without a foundation is the mistake that sends you back to square one. So Accepting a slow start is essential because fast progress in the wrong direction only takes you further away from where you want to be, while the right direction, even if slow, takes you where you want to go. And when you start seeing the first signs that something is working, even if small, your anxiety decreases, your confidence increases, and you start feeling in control again. And that changes everything. Because more than money, what you were losing was control over your own life. And when that comes back, your decisions improve, your relationship with money improves, and your future starts to make more sense. And that's what builds a more stable and less overwhelming financial life, not perfect, but much more organized. So if you made it this far and saw yourself in all of this, you're already ahead of a lot of people. Because now you have clarity, and clarity changes the game. So do this. Leave your like, because that helps this content reach more people who are stuck in this cycle without understanding it. Subscribe to the channel, because here you'll learn how to build a real financial life, no illusions. And comment the word focus down below, because that way I know you made it to the end and that this message truly made sense to you.